Welcome, young, old, and everyone in between. I'm Pommy and Oz. We're back. It's the new season, my favourite time of the year. And if I am so bold, because I think I am on 99.9% of live shows involving Carlton, I think this is the best show that's Carlton involved. As always, there's some apologies to be had. Ian evidently forgot he's part of this. I think he's on a date, so I can't argue with that. And Paolo, he's Italian, so 7 o'clock is about 7:05. But there is some people here who are committed. I've got beneath me in the geographical sense of the term, but not in man terms. I've got the Let Dog. Let Dog, how are you?
Oh, Pommy, it's good to be back. I'm very excited. Had a great time on Sunday or Monday, whenever we did that live. And I'm excited by the new addition to this show. Don't talk to me. Let's focus on the main man.
Well, I mean, you are meant to be retired and you've been on live 4 nights out of 7. So good retirement, mate. Well done. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, and I picked up a job writing as well. So, I'm not doing a great job of retirement, but, it's good.
Mate, I'm waiting for your beautiful partner to have a go at me and say I was meant to get him back and you've stolen him again.
Yeah, I've had to put a passcode on my phone, mate, just for that.
And join us because we need 5. And the reason we need 5 is 2 reasons. One, it's better for content. But number 2, you guys and girls in chat, as you flood in, kept picking Plowman. So I had to avoid that. And bringing a new flavour to this show, we've got an icon of the YouTube world, a man who is famous, really famous. He's the biggest... He's the biggest YouTuber here. We've got the legend that is My Blue Heavens. Bucky, how are you doing, Bucky?
You needed someone old, Pom. You just needed to just boost that average age, mate. Thanks for that great intro. It's a pleasure to be on and thoroughly looking forward to this. It's a great concept. And what are we, about 48 hours out from the first game of the year? And I think probably the biggest question, guys, is the team and what we're going to go in with. You know what I mean? I think this is a great way to just dip our toes into it, and just pick it apart a little bit. We're all going to probably have different views on this, but no one's ever wrong in this caper if you can just back yourself up. And I'll look. Thanks for the invite. It's great to be on with you two guys, and hopefully Pele turns up. I mean, that is pathetic. Seriously, 7 o'clock, mate. And Ian, I mean, please, 3 of us. We're a bit like the Carlton Football Club at the moment. We're just falling over in regards to injuries. Maybe they've been laid out. So they laid out's problem. Is Pele laid out? We might need to bring in a sub.
Here he is. And the man who's rivaling Sam Newman recently with not just the amount of shows he's on, but he's also brought back Street Talk. We've got Jumper Punch, SEN. I don't know what else. You're a bit like a mercenary, Paolo, aren't you? You'll talk for anyone who pays you.
Yeah, well, I'm not on the wicket that Sam Newman's on. I'll give you the tip. I'm dealing with a dodgy Wi-Fi at the moment too. So this Wi-Fi is a bit like one of those late night curries you get at about 1 a.m. Bucky, Leg Dog, how are we?
Fantastic. Cool. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, as well. This is your debut here, Bucky. It is, isn't it?
It is, mate. I better perform. I mean, I'm a bit like Zach Williams. There's a bit of pressure on, a bit of excitement. And I'll bring plenty of enthusiasm, but maybe I might be at my best. Hopefully I am, mate. Hopefully I am.
Don't blow your calf out.
Well, I mean, getting a lot of love in the chat, Bucky. You've got a lot of super fans here as well. So I mean, it's good to see. It's good to see. Hope Spell's giving you love as well.
Goodness gracious me, yeah. I thought I was probably the most unpopular person on YouTube, but seeing those comments there, that's actually making me my bald scone just explode just even a little bit more than what it usually does. But yeah, thanks for that. Really appreciate it, guys.
I've got to say, I get asked a lot to do something with you, Bucky. So you're probably the most asked.
That's good. Well, I'm in, mate. I'm in every Wednesday night. Sometimes I'll be in the car. Sometimes I'll be in a nightclub or in the cave. But I'll be on.
I'll be with you at the nightclub. I'll set you up.
I won't be using an excuse like Ian has out on a date. If that's what he's done.
Pom kicked me off one of these because I was in the pub car park and I'd had a few, and he said, "You know what? I reckon we're probably all right without you today." So
it's been known. It's been known. Got standards. Well, I mean, let's get straight into it. You are the debutant, Bucky. I've got a sexy photo of you.
Oh, geez, you've done well there. That's as bad as it gets. Mate. I've got spies everywhere. But Bucky, the floor is yours. Tell me your team and tell us how you came along with this team. What's your thought process? Oh, look, I mean, I suppose when you have a look at it, mate, we can't obviously no Motlop, Martin, Welsh, Marchbank, Wiedering. That's pretty handy players unavailable to play. I mean, I think we'd love to play Elijah Hollins, considering the preseason he had, but he's out for 2 weeks, and I just couldn't go with 2 ruckmen, so I've left Pitnet out. Lions only going with 1 ruck generally, and I don't see it as a significant advantage for us, and I think it's either TDK or Pitnet to go up against Oscar McInerney. I think Harry can do that role. I think he did it okay in the pre-season. It's a bit of a risk, but the Lions do it with Joe Danaher. I left Chincotta out. I just think with Williams coming back in and the form of Boyd and his ball use, and I'm not going with Corey Durden or Matt Owies, even as subs. I think given that they're becoming 2 injury-prone players, those 2 small forwards, particularly Owies, a lot of calf and soft tissue injuries. They haven't played any. Paul, you probably know a little bit more about this than me. They didn't play any VFL games, did they?
No, zilch.
No.
They seem to be moving well at training. Like they've been doing run-throughs, but they haven't been exposed to any opposition at all.
Yeah, I just think given the likes of Cunningham, who's probably had the best preseason he's had, and not necessarily showing it in regards to form in the 2 practice matches. He's fit and ready to go, and Fogarty as well. Cottrell, and I think Fantasia showed last week, particularly in that first quarter, that his body seems to be holding up all right. I just think it's a big risk to bring in Williams, and I'm bringing in Durden. I'm talking about Sam at full back. I just couldn't fit the 2 little guys in. I just think we get them right for a couple of weeks' time, and I'm going for a really sort of, I suppose, the guys that have put in the work, the ones that we know are at least fit, and let's see how we go. So I've got Newman. I just think this is what I think. This is not necessarily what I think that the coaches will do. I still think they'll probably go with Lewis Young, but I probably think it's time we see Durden. I just think he looks stronger and a little bit more reliable. I feel Lewis Young's confidence is completely gone. He is a shadow of the bloke we saw, what was it, in 2022. He's a real worry. And if Durden can at least lock down on Danaher and make it really tough for him, I think that's a win for us. Kemp's as loose as a goose, but if we can try and get him up higher up the ground, I think it worked in the second half against Melbourne last week. I thought his intercept game was really good. He could probably go with Hipwood, because Hipwood boys likes to get up the ground rather than sort of deep. And we'll have to be careful of that, because I reckon they might try and isolate Brody Kemp a little bit. Sard, McGovern and Boyd. I think Boyd's had a really good pre-season. You could probably flip that and have Williams starting and Boyd on the bench. Love the centre line. Akers and Hollins pick themselves. I think the biggest plus for us guys is that both of those boys are really good defensively. They really push back hard, particularly Akers, to be that +1, which will allow, I think, Williams, Boyd and Sard to be a lot more proactive in our ball movement. Cunningham needs the lift, but he gets a chance as a high half forward. Harry, I think one of the positives out of the pre-season and the practice matches was the form of Harry. Fogarty's just your hard nut, your tackling machine, but you can't just do that, guys. I think he needs to add that extra layer to his game, and that is at least maybe a goal a game across this year if he gets regular football. Fantasia, big game for him. I'm not expecting Fantasia to have a massive game, but I'd like to see just glimpses of the player that we know he can be. And I think the biggest plus for him is that his body at the moment looks sound. Charlie and Cottrell, whether it's a forward pocket, half forward, or it's rotating on the wing, I'd like to actually see him go to Camden Coleman, Kitty Coleman. Without Connor McKenna, they are probably one short in regards to their running defenders. And let's see if we can maybe make Coleman a little bit more accountable. So that could be a role for Cottrell. We know Cottrell can get out the back and become a dangerous forward. TDK in the ruck, big game. I mean, I think it's really, at the moment, it's either Pittnet or TDK. I don't think both of them have set the world on fire, but I'm going to go with a younger, more athletic TDK. Chera, Hewitt, and on the bench, Doherty, who can play a variety of roles, whether it's through the midfield, rotating on a wing, cross half forward. Kennedy comes in. There's another one, guys. This is another reason why I'd be reluctant to bring in too many players who don't have a really good match fitness. Kennedy's just had the one game in the VFL, and if you watch training, he's had legs taped up, Paul. I don't know what's going on there, mate. That's tape covering pretty much the whole leg. I can't wait to see what Zach Williams is going to bring. Just fingers crossed for the guy. Just enthusiasm, bounce, speed. And he's not the greatest ball user. I think a lot of people think he's a great kick. He's an okay kick, but he gives you that run and that aggression and energy that we've lacked. And teams have locked down on Sard. They've really locked down on him, and you can't lock down on him at all. The thing I'm most excited, boys, about this game is that combination of Boyd, Sard and Williams, to see how they rotate them. I think that's exciting. And I'm going a bit of a smoky here is it Cohen or Cowan? I mean, someone's been calling me up.
Cowan.
It's Cohen, is it?
Yeah, I think Carlz. Moo.
Cowan.
Yeah. Anyway, I've got, look, he played the first 6 or 7 games last year, and they considered him good enough last year to play as an 18-year-old in a pretty bloody strong side. And I know he lost his spot, but he won it back later on. He's put a lot of size on, and he can play as that hybrid defender. And if we get an injury, so I think he's my smoky. And it was either out of, I suppose, as a sub, Lewis Young or
whoever was left.
Really, I've gone with Jack Carroll. I think he's at least had a decent preseason and is one that has got through pretty much unscathed in regards to his body. So I want to take a really fit team over there and a team that can at least run and just roll the dice. I mean, they're going to get us anyway. If they control the midfield, which they can do, because they just roll so many numbers through their boys, I don't think the best defence in the league is going to be able to stop that machine, their front half, particularly their mediums and their smalls. So are there any risks? Are there any surprises in there? I don't think so. I think the biggest one is probably either Durden or Lewis Young, and whether we play 2 rucks or not. But at this stage, I just don't think they're in good enough form, the two of them together, to make that work. And I'm not sold on TDK going forward at the moment. I just don't think it works. Let's stretch them at ground level rather than allowing Andrews and Payne to run the show down there. I know they've got Ryan Lester who can play a little bit taller and take a tall player, and I just don't feel TDK's got that forward craft at the moment. And to be perfectly honest, I don't know if it's ever going to work. He won a free kick. He won a free kick in a final last week and kicked 2 goals in a quarter. And that's pretty much all we've seen in regards to TDK as a forward. So at the moment, it is a 1 ruckman for me.
Mate, I like it. And chat, send in your questions. Let Doug, I'll start with you. Any questions for team selector Bucky on his debut?
Look, I think we're obviously going to have the Dirt and Young conversation. I think we can park that one for now. I like what you said about Williams, about him being really dangerous for us. I agree he's probably not the best kick, but what I think he does bring to the table, which you alluded to, Bucky, is that he takes the dangerous kicks. He's not one to just go long down the wing. He's willing to take it on, and I think we've probably missed that a little bit running out of half-back last couple of years or last 18 months. So I love his inclusion. And Cowan, I think Cowan's a really interesting player this year because I really like him, and he probably could play the Chincotta role from last year, where it's like sometimes he's big, sometimes he's small. He could come in. I couldn't fit either of them into my team. I went with two talls, but I think, do you see him in that sort of Chincotta role from last year? Is that the spot he's sort of vying for, do you think?
I think so. I think with what I've sort of read up on Cowan is he as far as the defensive coach has said about him, and Aaron Hamill's obviously our defensive coach, he's really caught into the way they want to play. So he's got quite high intelligence in regards to the way he defends. And I think the thing that I like about Cowan is if we do get an injury to one of our taller players, and I know at 189 centimetres, it's not tall, but like a Ryan Lester for the Brisbane Lions, and I know Ryan Lester's a lot more experienced, but they can play a little bit taller than what they are. I actually see him being able to provide that ground sort of speed, which Chincotta does, but at the same time, I think down the track, I think he's pretty good in the air as well, and a very good one-on-one defender. So I think that's probably at the moment, it's either Cowan or Kemp as that hybrid defender. But I think you need two. I think I'd like to have, because they're so bloody strong forward to centre, you just go through their team, the amount of sort of, I like to call them these hybrid defenders, your McCarthy's and your Cam Rayner and a few others who, Calamar Chi, Charlie Cameron, they're all really good above their head. But if the ball hits the ground, they're dynamic at ground level as well. And I think Cowan, although he's young, has got a nice balance of that sort of defensive type play and also the ability to take the game on. So, and he's had a I think he was a little bit injured pre-Christmas, Paul. I think he was in the rehab group, but since they've come back, he hasn't missed a beat, And as I mentioned before, boys, I'm going in with the guys who've probably had the work under their belt, in this game, rather than taking in guys and risking them in a game, which I think is probably, I know it's probably going to be a bit pessimistic, but probably beyond us anyway.
Yeah, look, you've certainly made the argument for that, having that extra taller defender or player who can play tall. And I'm looking at my team thinking I'm probably one short now. So I think you've made a very good first impact there, Buck. You've already got me questioning myself. But I think given the injury list, I don't mind being a little bit conservative with guys that are injured. You'll see in my team, I haven't done that, but I like the idea around sort of, we're already missing 7 or 8 guys. If we go up with guys who have missed time, what's the upside?
No, they're just quality. You lose so much flexibility with obviously Whittaker as the general. He just sets them up. And Marchbank as well, as your player that can play really tall. And is good in the air, and like, don't mention what Martin adds to this team. They're just big holes. And I think, boys, when you look at it like this, and I know this isn't a list analysis show, but it does expose the depth a little bit. I think, if something happens to, say, Lewis Young, we're digging right in, and next up in line's Dominic Aque. You know what I mean? Like, that's where we're starting to look at. There's no sort of big, tall defenders. Whittaker comes back and does his calf again. It's either Lewis Young, Durden, or Dominic Aque as your big key defenders. It doesn't seem. I don't know. I don't know. I don't look at other clubs' depth as much as I do at Carlton, but it seems a little bit light in that regard.
Yeah, I think we've been light there for a while, haven't we, Pommy? We talked about it. I personally probably would have looked to have taken someone in one of the SSP positions. We had the LTI to Jack Silvani. I really thought we might look at another tall, but it didn't happen. Smarter people than me are in charge of the club. But yeah, I'm with you. We're certainly shallow in that part of the ground.
Yeah. What was your biggest 50-50 call, Bucky, in the team? What was the decision that you were looking at where you could have gone one way or another with a particular player or position?
I think it was the two rucks.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it was that, but I just think we're hanging on to this hope of TDK becoming a forward. I just don't know how you work it. I mean, they've tried pitting that forward a little bit. Like you see him sometimes go forward, and maybe TDK's ready to explode as that sort of that bloke who can take a grab. But I just haven't seen it yet, and I just think he's the type of bloke that just thrives on getting involved, getting his hands dirty, and the more he plays in the ruck, the better he gets. And I think his confidence grows from that. And I just don't see it working. I see it as a complete waste. I really do. And I know if Harry goes into the ruck, that means you only have Charlie, but you can really mix it up then. Kennedy can come on and play as a forward. You can swap things around, you can manoeuvre, different pieces of the puzzle, go in a little bit smaller. But they probably will play the two ruck, because we haven't got Jack Martin. We don't have that luxury of having Jack Silvani or Jack Martin. So it wouldn't surprise me at all they go in with Pitnet or TDK, but I just think in this game it will be quick. And I know Pitnet gives you an honest contest, particularly in the middle of the ground up against Oscar McInerney, and the strength of bloody Brisbane Lions is their clearance work out of the middle, and he might do a number on TDK, but it's where you end up after that with Pitnet. It's a real worry. So that was probably the big one, mate. I just think, and with Durden and Lewis Young, they got Durden through in a VFL game. And I think to play in this, I don't know if they're happy with Lewis Young. I wouldn't be happy with that. I wouldn't be happy at all with that. I just think he looks a shadow of a bloke that can take on the Gorillas, Yeah.
He's limited.
Which is a shame because we were all thinking, that, and it's not all over for him, but that's some concerns, wouldn't there? He looks frail. He looks sort of skinny and frail, easily pushed away. He doesn't necessarily use the ball well. We don't see that really good intercept marking as much as we used to. He's definitely down on confidence, and I think, Durden could get the nod. I'd like to see someone a little bit stronger in that position.
Does Young, I know he's not on your side, I think he's in 50, I think it's 50-50, so we're going to have to talk it through. But does he, and I don't necessarily think this is the case, but does he have the upside of potentially going in the ruck for that 15% of game time? Because I want to avoid Harry Mackay in the ruck as much as humanly possible, just because of our lack of depth in the forward line. If something was to happen, is Lewis Young, does he bring that flexibility, and can he be a bit of a sacrificial goat, for lack of a better term, and take some of that heat in the ruck if he's in the team? Maybe, but you probably need another tall on the bench or something.
I think you didn't have to sort of look at the other positions, but I think he's done it before and done it okay. I think he did it with Jack Silvani last year, and we won some games with Jack and Lewis Young doing that. But honestly, I can't see it happening. And I'm the same with you. You always worry about Harry going into the ruck, but the Lions do it with Joe Danaher. They do it. They do it for 5 minutes, 6 minutes. He does the ruck work in the front half and then goes to a couple of centre bounces. Whether they've put a lot of work in that behind the scenes, Paul, and Pom, whether Harry's been doing some ruck work, in the ruck craft sort of stuff that we don't know about, I'm not quite sure. But it does pose some potential problems with Harry. Seeing though he hasn't generally been a ruckman, but he's got the height, hasn't he? He's got the height. I mean, it's not like he's an undersized big bloke going into the ruck. He's a big man. You know what I mean? He's a big man. So, and his body seems to be quite sound. I don't think you'd be wanting to get him to be going up in the ruck against Oscar McInerney.
No, I think it's matchup dependent.
Yeah. When Joe goes in there, Harry goes in there.
Yeah.
Try and
horses for horses.
Yeah.
Horses for horses.
My question, Buck, you mentioned Young, and I think we can all agree he did look like he looked like he needed a hug at halftime against Geelong. He looked like he needed a big hug. Did you also have the same reservations with Kemp? I noticed against Melbourne particularly, they played him centre-half back first half. He looked a bit nervous. When they switched him with McGovern, I see you've done that. He looked more confident playing that loose role. Did that also play on your mind as well? Midfield's going to take over. Is it going to sap his confidence in the big lights?
Mate, that's a really good point, because sometimes I feel Kemp's the one that gets is the one that's got to defend, and McGovern's the one that they're allowing to be that real intercept defender. And I feel Gov has probably got the easier role, and Kemp, I feel, potentially could be as good as Gov in that role as an intercept defender. I just feel like they need to find the right matchup for Kemp. But yeah, look, I'm not sold on Brodie Kemp as a defender. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel you need someone who can play, a little bit, because Brisbane have got those players like Rayner and McCarthy, who Kemp can, I think, play on because he's got that speed. And I think he, hopefully, in that second half, found his confidence, found his groove. I didn't think he defended that badly when he first came into the team last year. I think it was at the back end of the year. Maybe the opposition looked at him and go, okay, this guy's learning how to be a real defender. He wants to intercept. Let's make him really accountable. And we're seeing some of the flaws of Brodie Kemp in the way he defends. And I think they've had the summer to rectify it, but he probably still looks a fair bit off the pace in that regard. But there's not a lot else, boys. There's not a lot else to come in. I mean, you need your height. And I'm not having, say, a Lewis Young and a Durden. It's just not going to work. Yeah. It's probably a little bit too slow and a little bit cumbersome. Yeah. And I like that nimble foot. So Kemp gets the nod at the moment, but the jury's out. I don't know about you boys, but I'd like to think that they're not pigeoning Kemp as just a defender. I'd like to think that maybe he could become that third tall. I mean, that third tall in the front half. Well,
they tinkered with that in the VFL a bit early last season. We saw him go to half forward early in the VFL last season, and then I don't know if they completely binned it. I'm sure it's an option, but I think just based on what we had at half forward in the back end of last season, they opted to go with him down back. And I think you kind of see it now in AFL. Everyone wants the intercept. Everyone wants the mobile type of tall rather than the big gorilla. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I really liked Kemp. I know he struggled. Like, I felt like they targeted him in that Melbourne game, because if Jock Shackey's looking good on you, you're having a bad day. But then they shifted him, as you said, up the ground against Geelong as well. They were pushing him up, and he actually got some clearance and stuff. They were pushing him up into the sort of the ball ups around the sort of, on the wingish area. He was actually able to clear it. So I think he's much better up the ground when he gets a little bit of freedom. I agree. Big question marks over him on his actual defensive craft, one-on-one for sure.
I'm just going with him at the moment, boys, because I think we're just, I think
he's in my team.
If Marchbank was available, he slips right into that spot at the moment. But unfortunately, he's not available, and really, there's not a lot else, And it came down to probably Kemp or Lewis Young, because I want Durden in. Just because I think he's a bigger, stronger body at the moment. And Kemp gets the nod just because of his mobility, and he likes to get on his bike. And when his confidence is up, you can see it. He flies through his marks, and he'll run from behind. And I think he's got some potential. But at the moment, there's just he's got whipping boy on him at the moment. Boys, I just feel like another couple of bad games with Brodie, he could become one of those sort of whipping boy types. You know what I mean? Which I don't want to happen, but he just needs to start to take a few more strides with his football, because we don't like guys who continually get outmarked and can't position their body if they're going to be defenders, because it is a worry. It is a worry.
It's tough. I love the team, Bucky, and chat does, and will pick on me. And the reason I asked you the question is I gave Kemp the holiday. I had two minds with Kemp, and I just thought, I think it's going to be a tough game. And I'm with Bucky. I've got Ploughman vibes with Kemp. That the fans are looking.
Tom, you're going to get cancelled, mate.
No, well, what I mean is I'm Kemp's number one fan. I've got Ploughman vibes in the terms of I think the fans are looking for the next Ploughman. And I fear
I agree.
it's going to be Kemp.
I agree.
I fear. So I went Durden and Young because Voss likes the tall system. It's usually Marchbank and Whittaker when they're fit. Both big guys. Brisbane are incredibly tall with Danaher and Hipwood. Go with that. And I brought in the extra defender, Chin Cotter, to give that zip and that pace. Because my takeout from the Melbourne game and the Geelong game is when the ball hits the deck in the front half, Carlton look lost. So try and find that synergy while Whittaker's out to find what that best makeup is. It also gives us a chance with Williams not to play Williams for the full 90, 80% game. It gives us a heavy rotation because I'm with Bucky here. This game is probably a tough ask for us to win with our outs. So let's get there, put in a performance, get the engine, give ourselves a chance, but come home 100% fit. Let's not risk anything too much, too crazy. Aside from that, I think the team picks itself. I just went Newman, McGovern. I want him to be the interceptor. I feel like if Carlton have got a chance in this game, Mitch McGovern has got to be good. So keep him in that intercept position, let him play loose. He's handballing to Sard Williams. We've got the ability to hurt them because I think turnover game is going to be the secret in this game. So we're going to learn a lot. Akers, Cripps, Hollands, it picks itself. Connors, Cottrell, I went with. I feel like Cottrell's best position is that high half forward. It gives us a bit of speed, bit of dynamicness. Mackay, Kerno, no-brainers. Fantasia, Fogarty, I've got Class and Mongrel. TDK, Chera, Hewitt, Doc, Kennedy. I brought Kennedy in. I thought it's going to be a tough midfield game. So having an extra option to go across half forward and in the midfield. No Jack Martin. Maybe he can pinch it in that role. And Boyd and Chin Cotter, the extra smalls, I feel like they're fighting for one spot. And it would be very interesting, I think, Chin Cotter and Boyd, I think, play one spot when everyone's fit. Are you going to go defence over skill? Or are you going to go skill over defence? And I thought, I had a dart throw, to be honest with this. I just thought, they say he's fit. Last quarter, give him some minutes. You can maybe take out one of the small defenders like a Chin Cotter or a Williams, rest him, give him the extra time, give him the 20 minutes. No point playing him in VFL. He knows how to play the game. Simple team. It's not exciting. I didn't have any exciting players to bring in.
Yeah, I think, Pom, I don't think there's any massive question marks over it. I'm with you with the dart throw for the sub. So do you see Kennedy, rotating, starting as a high half forward or a tall third forward, I guess, like he did? Which game was it in the finals that he did that? Or was it both of them? Anyway, do you see him playing that role?
You remember when Voss picked him, he played him at halfback as well. So, I mean...
I don't think we should...
Jack Silvani.
Yeah, I don't think we should do the halfback experiment, but I can see him as a tall option up forward and gives us a little bit of grunt in the mid. So I understand that.
You've gone, Pom, similar to me in regards to the ruck. What's your reasoning? Are you along the same lines as me that it wouldn't surprise you at all to see them play Pitnet and TDK? But what would your reasons be to play just the one ruck, and why is it TDK and not Pitnet?
For me, I think that it's horses for courses, and Joe Danaher, I don't think is a terrific ruckman. I think if this was Fremantle, Darcy and Luke Jackson, okay, I think there's an argument of Mackay's going against a proper ruck. Here he's going against a part-timer. So I've got two trains of thought. One, TDK, I feel, needs to start being the 70% ruckman. I feel like now's the go time he imposes himself as the senior ruckman. And two, I feel like the matchup for TDK is positive. Oscar McInerney is a very good, honest ruckman, but he should batter Danaher, and I'd fancy H doing that. So great opportunity now for TDK to have 78% game time as a pure ruckman for the bigger battles to come. And Pitternet, he didn't look 100% fit against Melbourne or Geelong, so we're going to need him long term anyway. So part of it as well, self-preservation, Bucky, honestly.
Yeah.
Ran a lot of laps at halftime in that Melbourne game.
Yeah, I hate to be safe, but I'm thinking it's a 24-round season. Like, 4 points, is it worth potentially losing finals and missing half a team? And to answer your question, like, I agree with Bucky. This is a battle of the midfield. Extra midfield. Kennedy's a bigger body. It allows him to come in and offer something. And I feel like when Kennedy comes in, he does offer something. He's a good, honest worker. So it allows us to rotate around the ground and take the game on, because I feel like the only way we've got a chance is turnover game. So, and having a bit of a second midfield.
And I think what Kennedy allows you to do, particularly with the midfield boys of the Brisbane Lions and someone like Josh Dunkley, who's a real hard nut, and he will probably go to Cripps. He will take Cripps at the stoppages. It just allows you to have that bigger body in there for a bit of protection, and just sort of let the Brisbane Lions sort of know, that they're our boys are pretty hard at it. Because I think that's probably our only chance in this game, is if we can smash them on the inside. And we need Williams, we need Cripps, we need Hewitt in this team to be able to do that. Then the question, I suppose, which has been a bit of a problem for a period of time, is that can we get 10% more out of a Cunningham? As that bloke that can go in there for a small period of time. But we need those hard bodies in there against the Brisbane Lions, who are nearly the best in the business with their hard nuts through there as well.
I like
Carlo, you got anything to pick on me with?
Not really, to be honest. I think for me the interesting one is Pitternet, and you'll see with my team. But I don't know. I just like us with the two rucks. Was that an area that were you really umming and ahhing over that, or was that just a direct TDK in? Don't worry about Pitternet, or was it a bit more of an and an ah?
I actually thought that was the easiest decision for me when I picked this team.
Right.
I was like, my priority one was get out of here alive to fight another day. And everything I saw in Pitternet against Melbourne told me he was nowhere near it. And you saw it last year once he broke down. It left a massive hole. And there's going to be games where we need two rucks. And Hudson's miles away, Murkoff's miles away. Yeah, I wouldn't trust. We haven't got Jack Silvani as the break glass in case of emergency. And I don't want to see Harry do 90% ruck. So I was like, let's make sure we avoid that scenario in a game. I think they're one of the few teams that play one ruckman and a forward in the ruck. So I feel like it's probably we're kissed on the proverbial willy that we don't have to play two rucks. The proverbial willy. Well, Paolo, your team Pitternet. Take me.
Got to change that picture. I'm not a sharp anymore.
I love that picture.
I'm not a sharp.
Is that Bet Deluxe days, Bello?
It is, mate. It is.
They're very tidy.
It's nearly 2 years ago. The back line for me was pretty straightforward. I think the Williams selection didn't shock me because at training on Sunday he was playing, and this actually intrigues me with Zach Williams. He was playing. So, but you were there on Bucky Sunday, weren't you?
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. So, did you see the drill where they had cones up on the wings, and you couldn't? They weren't allowed to go out on the wings. They had to come through the corridor.
Yeah, corridor.
Sard and Williams both had orange vests on, and from what I looked at, I think Williams was playing as a spare in defence, which really intrigued me.
Yeah, and Sard was playing as a spare up the other end.
Yeah, so I haven't, and I don't know, I'm just trying to jog my memory back to him playing as a spare. I actually really like that. I think it's a very aggressive move, isn't it? And that's what excited me. So I had him penciled in. And Pommy, I think you spoke about winning this game from a turnover perspective. If he's someone that can get on the end of it as a spare, he's one that could potentially hurt Brisbane the other way. So I wanted him in the team across halfback, but playing as that spare. So I would assume, based on what happened at training, I think both Sard and Williams will alternate between those two roles, which really intrigues me because I haven't really seen that with us. So maybe that's something that they've clearly worked on, maybe not just leading into this game, but potentially for the season, we might see something like that. And I think you nailed it as well, Bucky, when you said Hollands and Akers just picked themselves, really. There's no one else for those pure wing roles.
I just think the beauty of our wingers, particularly Akers and Hollands, is developing is they push so hard back. They become that extra defender, which I think is so vital for us if we're going to get that, the likes of Sard and Williams to get on their bike. And I think they really like Boyd in that role as well, a little bit higher, because he's got that really good ball use. They love his kicking. It's whether down the track Boyd's got that pure class to be able to go from a 12 possession player to a 17, 18 possession player. That's probably the question mark. He did it in the prelim final, and hopefully he can add that to him. But our wingers are outstanding. Their work rate is probably as good as any other wingers in the competition, and that's why. I mean, you hear people say, "Oh, why didn't we play Zach Fisher as a winger? Why didn't we play Paddy?" Well, they didn't have an engine. They can't push back and defend. This is why these blokes, and Cottrell's the same. He can play that wing role as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's probably our biggest strength at the moment in this side.
Yeah, it's funny. It literally changed in one preseason how we were wondering what the hell is going on with the wingers, and then in the blink of an eye, it's arguably our strongest part on the ground. So I think for me, the majority of the team I've picked here was the team that played against Melbourne, because I think, and I think all you boys can attest to this, you need to have some sort of touch against opposition leading into games like this. And I think the team that went out against Melbourne, I wasn't too perturbed with how they went, because I think it just seemed, and they probably all are, they were down a gear, but I want to see them against opposition for 4 points. I want to see that team that went out there against Melbourne, because there are a few different things that I saw that I actually really liked. So I think Cottrell high half forward is definitely the role that he is going to pencil in, and then he'll rotate with Hollands and Akers. We saw that throughout last season, so that won't change. There's going to be no change to that. I named Doherty across half forward as well, because we saw him, and he was actually buoyant when he spoke about this, that he played in this particular role for little bits and pieces of the back end of last season. So I see him as he's our Swiss Army knife, I think, for this year, because he can rotate on a wing. He can go through the midfield and play an inside or outside role as well. And he's one of those players too that sometimes our midfield's a little bit handball heavy. So he's a guy that can go in there and give us a point of difference with his, he's just, when he gets the ball, he's looking to gain territory and look ahead and gain meters as well. So that could be something that we look at as well. And I'm intrigued to see what he could potentially do playing a little bit more across the half forward line. And then always I threw in, because I think it was Michael Voss, or it might have been Patrick Cripps, or one of the two said that prior to his little calf niggle that he had been one of the top 5 picks in preseason. So I'm banking in that he's had a pretty good block leading up to that little bit of a niggle, that he'll be good enough to come in. And then Curnow and Fantasia, I think, picked themselves, so did TDK Chera. And tell you what, George Hewitt's had a very quiet, under-the-radar preseason. He had a broken hand last year and had that back injury that he was coming off. And I really like what he showed in the first 2 games. And then for me, off the bench, Newman, Pitternet. I like the 2 rucks. I like what Pitternet gives us. I know he cops a bit of a bad rap, but I like the tone that he sets at the contest. And Pommy, I think you can attest to this. Every single premiership winning team and every single champion team and gun team has a player like this. They're not a star. They might not be the best skill-wise. They might not be the best with ball in hand. They might not be the best covering the ground, but I think they set the tone at the contest. The camaraderie that they bring across the group is something that's it's an intangible thing that you can't measure, but I do think it actually manifests itself out on the ground as well. And Cunningham, I'm really excited to see. He just has to play. This is the first time he's had a preseason in God knows how long, so he's actually finally he's got a preparation with which he can come into an opening game and say, I've got no excuses now. So I'm interested to see how he goes, and Fogarty as well. I want to see him at the scoreboard. And I wanted to go with an aggressive sub. I know he plays defensively, but I think he is an aggressive type of player in Chincotta. So that's how I've gone. I don't think the only 50-50 pick was Pitternet, but I'm a big advocate of Pitto. That's sort of why I went with him. There's probably a little bit of bias involved with that, but I think everybody's got that in their squad to some point.
Did you consider Sam Durden at all, considering what you noticed? Did you notice on Sunday that he took Harry in the match?
Which was interesting. I found that really, really interesting. The only thing that not worries me with Durden, but I think what they look at with Young is that, and I know how far back can you look? You don't want to look too far back, but the fact that Young has kind of, I don't know, it's going back to 2022, but he's kind of been there and done it with us, if that makes sense. Whereas Durden hasn't played an AFL game for us since, when's the last time he played an AFL game for us? Was it against Richmond in the rain before he did his knee? I think he hurt his knee.
Did he play one last year? Did he play one last year?
I don't think he did. No, he had hamstrings. Then he had, he was injured all year, unfortunately. So, I just for me the preparation doesn't look like he's going to be geared up enough to be able to handle Danaher and Hipwood and the others as well. So, and my worry with him is that. It's probably the same worry with Young as well, is that those medium to small forwards that Brisbane have could, they could carve us up as well. And Young, I think, is just going to play pure lockdown. And I think what you get with Durden is what you're going to get with Young. I know physically Durden might be a bit stronger, but Durden ball in hand is no better than Lewis Young. And I think Young has got a few more credits in the bank with what he did under Voss's first year. Again, it's not to look too far back because it's a completely new season, but the fact that they've gone with him as well in those first two games. And I didn't think Young and Kemp were, I don't think they were that bad against Melbourne. And when you concede 65 or nearly 70 inside 50s against opposition, I actually thought our midfield defensively was poor. And that's why we were, when you concede aerial ball to Van Ruin and Shaki and, any forward can tear you up like that. So weight of numbers is going to eventually get you. But I actually think the preseason and the amount of repetition that they got because of those inside 50s will hopefully hold them in good stead. But, if the problem is if we're conceding 65 inside 50s against Brisbane on Friday, well, you kind of got to protect Lewis Young, don't you? And Pommy and I are big on that. You've got to stop the source, mate. If you're allowing them to have 65, 70 inside 50s, a team like Brisbane's going to cut you apart, mate. You can still have Wiedering down there. You ain't going to win. Yeah, you're not going to win.
I agree. Mate, it happened after quarter time in the prelim, really.
Yeah, well, exactly. Exactly right.
I watched the highlights of that, and they were just, they were sort of cutting us up through the sort of their halfback flankers and their midfielders.
Yeah. And Kitty Coleman, mate, he destroyed us, and our midfield went to for lack of a better phrase, our midfield went to the shit after quarter time against Brisbane. Yeah. So,
and even we just struggled in that game because of the
he did. He did.
I'm hashtag stop the sauce on Twitter.
Pommy, you and I, mate, we're the biggest advocates of it, brother.
Mate, I want to ban the sauce in all avenues.
Stop the tomato sauce, mate. Bucky, you said, and remember those passages of play where Danaher had about 20 metres in front of him to run into off Wiedering. But, when your midfield's allowing Brisbane to carve up and get free ball through midfield, well, mate, North Melbourne can carve you apart if you're not putting pressure on through midfield.
And who's our probably, if you think about our midfield in regards to the best two-way runner, and I'm not talking about our wingman, who's our best two-way runner?
It's got a questionable back issue right now, I think.
Yeah, there you go. That's it, Lecky. That's the man, and we don't have him. You know, we don't have his ability to push forward. We don't have his ability to push back. So it is a concern because the rest of them don't have that leg speed either. It's a really, I mean, the biggest question mark. You know, we've always been with Cripper is his ability to work both ways, and he does get exposed. But
so it's almost like and I actually watched this a couple of days ago. It's almost a Moneyball scenario, isn't it? Is that you can't replace Giambi, you can't replace Sam Walsh, but you can maybe replace his numbers with 2 or 3 others.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they do it, but that's why they're paid the money to.
Yeah.
My question, Paul.
Talk to me.
We've got the legend that is Travis in chat. I know he's the biggest Lions fan. Good mate.
I like Travis.
The guy that worries me the most on the Brisbane side, particularly with his pre-season, is Hugh McCluggage. And I feel he is the guy, apart from halfbacks, that I always worry about, Carlton. We always seem to have a great plan for the ball winners. It's that extra guy that comes out. We saw Carlton trial Cottrell against Melbourne. He spent a good quarter as that kind of Ed Kerno type tagger. Who's going to stop Cluggage? Because Cluggage, they hide him. They hide him and they release him late. And in that final, Cluggage had a day out in that third quarter.
He did. And McCluggage is, he's my favourite player at Brisbane. He's an absolute Rolls Royce, that player. Does Rodri go to him?
George Hewitt.
Rodri.
Declan
Rice. Does just George Hewitt go to him?
Tough on it.
I don't know.
He's such a smart player. He
usually starts on a wing as well, which makes it sort of difficult, because he'll line up on a wing and then he virtually plays, as Pommy said, in second halves, he virtually plays as a midfielder. So
he does, doesn't he? Yeah.
So he'll probably have early in the game. He's probably going to have Akers, or he's probably going to have Ollie Hollands or Akers for company. So I'm not quite sure how we work around that, but geez, they've got so many blokes you could, you got to look after bloody Lockie Neal and Dunkley. Dunkley's a machine. Dunkley is an absolute machine. Like he's
lowered Crippers. He's lowered Crippers' colours the last couple of times. They've gone head to head, mate. Don't worry about that.
He has. Yeah. He's got the wood over him. He's a bit like the guy, the St Kilda captain.
Jack Steele. Yeah. So, very similar. I'll tell you what. You know what I've been, and I wanted them to do this, and I know they won't. And I wanted them to debut one of the boys, Moyer or Wilson.
Yeah.
I know it's a big, but I would love for them to have said, look, this is going to be the toughest road trip, arguably, this season. These guys made the grand final last year. We want you to come up, travel, and have a look at what the actual standard is and levels to reach. I would have loved for them to have done that, but I don't think they will. I would love for them to have played Billy Wilson, but it's probably not going to be the case.
We might see him on the emergency list, but I don't think they're going to. I
nearly pressed the Ashton button as well. I did nearly press the Ashton button, but Peaky Blinders Letdog, that is the best photo of this show, man. Like, I have pictures of, just so everyone knows in chat, I have pictures of my wife and my kids on my phone, and the only person outside of that I have that on my phone. That is how much I enjoy that photo. So, Letdog, there you are.
Thanks, boys. I forgot how hot it gets in here under the lights. I'm fucking turning red. All right. This is a pretty standard team, I think. I went with Young over Durden. I understand the argument. I just want to pick a guy who I've seen play senior football recently. I just haven't seen Sam Durden. He missed all last year. He's had injuries. I didn't even get to see him in the practice match. I know he played VFL, but so just because I know what Young. I know Young played poorly, but I know he exists. I don't know Sam Durden exists at this stage. I went with the 2 rucks. I want Pito up there absorbing most of that McInerney pressure throughout the game with the intention, and someone suggested it further up in the comments, with the intention of substituting him later in the game to inject someone. Now, I couldn't work out who that person was, so I threw a dart and it landed on Corey Durden. Just when I was looking at players who could come in and potentially impact in a few moments, he was the one that I actually almost went Ashton as well, but I was like, oh, at least I've seen Durden play before. Doherty named across half forward. When he was named there a few times last year, he tends to hit the scoreboard when he does, but also we know he's not going to spend that much time there. But as Paolo said, I really like his the option he gives us to gain territory and move forward. Some of his kicks do go 700 meters in the air and about 10 meters forward, but I'm willing to take that one bad kick for the 15 good kicks he gives us. I think all the teams, I had Boyd in there as well. I think he had a really good preseason, really good back end to last year, and I just want to give him opportunities. And I've got Owies on the bench there just because I was looking at this team going, who's actually going to kick the goals if it's not Curnow and Mackay? So I put Owies in knowing that he's had some limited exposure. But again, I think for his role, potentially, he can come in and do it without that much of a run-up. And then I don't think there's any other surprises there. I think I basically took an extra ruckman instead of Matt Kennedy. I think that's the main change for me.
Yep.
I'll ask you a question, Lek, with Fantasia, and we saw in the first quarter against Melbourne, he seemed to, particularly in that early part of the game, he seemed to be winning a lot of his ball up through the midfield. So I'm not quite sure whether I wasn't at the game, but I'm not quite if he had any centre bounces or. But he certainly provided that outside speed that we probably need. So could you see who could I'll pose the question to all of you? Cunningham obviously can go in there and give us a bit of speed, but do you see Fantasia maybe getting up a little bit higher than just being sort of stuck inside forward 50?
Yeah, well, against Melbourne, so he had a couple of stoppage clearances, found a couple of targets inside 50. He did push up, and they did seem to, particularly around, I know it's a smaller ground, but particularly around sort of the forward half, anything in the forward half, he was, early in the game, he was pushing up and going to those contests, which I like. And I think he is a player, he's not going to be engaged for 4 quarters unless you make him engaged for 4 quarters. So I think that's a way to do it, is to push him up the ground. Does he do that more? Does he do that when Elijah's in the team and all the bits and pieces are back in this team? Jack Martin's there as well. Probably not. But I think for the early part of the season, it's something he can do. And you probably have to do it to make sure he's getting his hands on the ball, because he's a moments player. But if you can keep him engaged, I think you maximize the opportunity to generate those moments. So I think it's a good shout. And I think it's something we'll see.
You went Matty Owies, and I saw Paolo did as well. Talk to me about that, the thought process, because obviously Owies, he's seen grass about as much as my son the last 4 weeks. He's been playing Fortnite every night. So,
yeah, well, I don't know about you, Paolo. I wanted someone who could kick goals, and I went through the list of available players, and he was the one that can kick goals. It was probably between him and Matt Kennedy. You guys might have actually convinced me that Kennedy's a better fit, but I was just trying to find someone who's dangerous in front of goal, basically.
Yeah, I think it's more along the lines of, if you want to go with someone who's tried and tested, who Matt always has been in that team. And I think for me, and the argument I made for Matt always is that he had a block of about 3.5 months which was really, really solid. So that should hold him in good stead if he does come into this game. But I think it just depends on what you want to rotate through the forward line. And if Motlop is coming out, and now we're going to go down that path of Motlop, which seemed the case, the likely replacement for him, I think, would be always as that small forward. I know we miss a lot of zest and a lot of zing and a lot of spice in that forward line with Motlop going down, and Matt always probably doesn't provide it, but at least he can bob up and snag a goal or two. So I don't know. It's. I think he's probably the safe option in a game that we're looking to probably play it safe. I would suggest.
I love it. Thank you very much, Chad, for your donation, mate. Much love to you. Well, now, chat, we have the best bit, my favourite bit, because because you can't tease me with Paddy Dow and Lockie Plowman because they're no longer on the list. So unlucky, chat. So as usual, each of the coaches, each of the selectors will have one person to save because Ian is doing better things with his time today. Chat, I'm giving you two. Because it's the season of goodwill.
I don't know about that, Pom. Gee whiz.
So, we'll start with the way that we did it. Bucky, we'll start with the back line. One player you want to guarantee in the back line.
I'm guaranteeing Adam Saad.
Woof.
He's
nice.
A pretty good
and
one.
We'll play him there at halfback. Okay. I went next. I'm going to guarantee McGovern and be annoying. I'm going to put him in the back pocket to give you some options. Paolo.
I'm going to be an arsehole. Lewis Young.
Oh, you God, Jesus. I should have gone third.
Mate, I was waiting for it. I was waiting for who would be the brave one. And Black Dog.
Yeah, I didn't want to. I thought I might be the one, but no. You know what? I'll give you Nick Newman, who we haven't even really spoken about. Wasn't amazing against the Melbourne Demons in that preseason game, but fuck, he's good.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, chat. There is your pool. You've got Newman, McGovern, Young, Saad, guaranteed. There is your remainders. You've got Akers, Boyd, Corey Durden if you want to be a sadist. You've got Carroll, Chera, Chincotta, Cottrell, Cowan, Cripps, Cunners, Kerno, Doc, Sam Durden, Fantasia, Fogarty, Hewitt, Holland, Kent.
Tom, do you want to just hide column C and D so we can move the team over slightly?
Maybe I don't want to.
Could you? That'd be nice. Yeah, thanks, mate.
There we go.
Happy now, let that.
I'm very happy.
So it looks like Zach Williams is a lock. We've got Boyd.
Boyd's a lock.
Yeah.
I think Boyd's a lock.
It looks like Boyd and Williams. So we're going in with a very small back line to take the challenge up to that forward line. It's good.
You know what? I can't do it because of my
OCD. Please. Yeah, thank you.
It's my OCD. You know what it's like. I can't do it. So
Newman's playing tall.
Unless, so this doesn't include the bench at the moment?
Nah, we'll do do we normally do the bench at the end, Pom? I can't remember.
Yes, benches at the end. So There we are. Your backline then, chat. Boyd, Young, Williams, Saad, McGovern, Newman. That's tasty. So midfielders now. We're on centres and followers. Mr. Bucky to kick us off.
Is the wingers included in the midfield, are they?
Yeah, so centre line and followers now. So yeah, you got your wingers.
Yeah, I'll go. I need Akers. I need him. I need Akers in.
You know what? We should just always have. We said this last year. Akers, Cripps, Hollands. But sometimes we don't pick them. But I am going to save. It would be harsh. I'm going to have to save my boy Ollie Hollands. Paolo.
Yeah, put the captain in. P. Cripps.
And like Dog, we know you love a bit of chaos. Are we going to see chaos?
I don't know. I'm really torn because I can determine the ruck line here, and I know which way.
I know you're going to save Pitternet. Just do it.
I'm putting Pito in. Put him in. Mate, if Ian was here, it might be a different team.
Like Dog's got to save him as well. He knows.
There's no way Chat's putting him in. There's no way Chat's putting him in.
Well, Chat, you've basically got the followers, so you can either be absolutely mental, but Hewitt and Chera are there. But I'll leave it to you. We've got. Oh, look at this: Cripps, Hewitt, Chera, TDK, Chera. Oof. Well, Chera's in. Hewitt and Chera off. Thank God.
Hewitt, Chera.
Well done, chat. Hey, you're doing well. This is the first week.
Yeah, unanimous. Unanimous.
It's the first week. You've been good. I like it.
One thing you'll learn, Bucky, this chat is a much higher quality than a lot of the footy chats we come across on our lives. The people who tune in for selection, they're switched on.
Yeah.
Lockie Jack's been well behaved. Shout out to you, my good man. As well.
Yeah, famous last words.
I'm giving you the kudos now, Lockie Jack. Remember. So, Bucky, we're on to the forwards now. Half forward and full forward line. Kick us off.
I'm going to go the big centre forward, the big H. Really the best performer in the preseason. I reckon he's just about to explode.
Agreed.
In a good way, boys. In a good way.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I've got to do it. I think every show, apart from the time Let Dog took it off me, but Charlie Kerner, Paolo. This is probably the tough one.
Half forward, Sam Doherty.
Thank you, Paolo. I would have done it.
Yep.
Paolo and Let Dog.
I'm going to put Cunningham in. I don't really care if you put him in a pocket or half forward. Dealer's choice.
Yep.
All right, chat. We need some pockets. We need some pocket forwards.
This is good. This is actually good. This is perfect for the chat.
This is probably the toughest line to pick, to be fair.
Here we go. Here we go.
Fog's getting some love in chat.
Yep.
Fog, Cottrell. I'm sure we'll see Sam Durden drop in from Lockie Jack at some stage.
He's been good. Hey, lay off my Lockie Jack. He's been good.
Have you seen his tweets lately, mate? He thinks the moon's upside down.
The moon is upside down.
Follow him on Twitter. He is a very good follow.
It looks like Fantasia's a lock.
Always is coming in late.
Oh, goodness. Always.
Looks like always.
Goodness gracious. Old Owies. Definitely Fantasia. He was getting a lot of love.
Well,
Fantasia.
I mean, we love the Pomtasia around these parts. Well, we're on the interchange bench now. So, chat, you've got a real good one here because you get the hard one. You get the sub. So, Bucky, anyone on that list? Interchange bench.
I'm going to go. I think we need Kennedy on the interchange bench.
You know, I'm seriously debating Sam Durden just to prove a point.
Well, we need someone taller, don't we? Look at that small back line.
I just can't. I can't live with myself if TDK's not there. Like, if we suddenly pick after all we've said about TDK, if TDK's not in that team. So, yeah, I'm saving my own preservation. TDK's in the team.
Someone good's missing out.
Let's save Cottrell.
Ooh, Cotters.
Wait.
Every time we play this game as well, there is always people that are locks for the team in this player pool.
Yeah.
Okay. Black Dog, you're going to break someone's heart.
Yeah, Brody Kemp is going to take the final interchange.
Hey,
whoa.
There you go.
Yes.
Fogarty misses out. Wow.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, it's
well, that's because of Owies. You see, he was ever so popular on the chat, Matt Owies.
There we are. Well, chat, you've got to pick a sub. I can see Fogs is there.
Yeah, Alex Harris is melting down.
Hashtag
sack Lek Dog.
Go on, mate.
Chat, you've got Fog. You know what, though? I do like Fog as a sub.
Me too.
I don't think it's as impactful as it could be, but I do like the idea of a small forward.
Could he be another midfield rotation?
He can, definitely.
Yeah. Yep,
mate. He's as hard as a gypsy coffin nail. Is Foggy. Well, it looks like it's fog. I'm going to have to tell Pom
Yeah.
Cotter that everyone doesn't love him. That's
So
a bit harsh.
who's missing out up the top there?
So missing out is Corey Durden, Jackie Carroll, the Pom Cotter, Cowan, and Samuel, the only player at the club who can grow a moustache, Durden. Chat, how could you do that to a man?
I think, with the exception maybe of always just because of the fitness thing, I reckon this is going to be pretty close to what runs out or what gets named. I don't think there's going to be too many surprises or too many differences.
Imagine if they start pinning it as a starting ruck ahead of the Koning.
Oh, it's going to, yeah.
To be fair,
they should do something different and just not throw a ruckman in there. Just put Fantasia in the ruck and play 5 midfielders.
Richmond won a flag doing that.
To be fair, me and Lake Dog have done team show for like 2 years, and we've seen Plowman in the forward pocket named. What was the other one we saw?
Mate, we've seen some.
Oh,
very
that was it.
strange
Jack
things.
Carroll fullback, because everyone always used to think that was actually the starting sheet, and we had to explain. They just put names on.
I don't know if you guys sort of had a look at the last time we actually beat Brisbane at the Gabba was under Mick Moldhouse in 2013.
I was at that game, Bucky.
And Josh Bootsma was playing for us.
That's the name.
That
Josh
was
Bootsma and Jared Cashier.
Jared Cashier, yeah.
And Kane Lucas had a night out. He had 20 disposals and kicked 3 goals. Unbelievable. That's
Is that why we drafted Blaine Boakhurst? Kane Lucas 2.0.
And guess who was playing their 3rd game for the Brisbane Lions that night?
Sam Doherty.
Sam Doherty, yeah. That was the last time we beat the Brisbane Lions at the Gabba.
It might be an omen. That was the last time I went to an away trip in Brisbane and we won that game. It was the last time. All my other away trips have been losses. That Brock McLean got knocked out that night. Remember they had the hard pitches in the middle and he got knocked out.
That's right.
Yeah, he got knocked out.
Yeah.
Well, Leg Dog, Bucky, Paolo, thank you very much. Chat, as always. We set a record. We tipped around 155. So the previous best was 148 in the Melbourne prelim selection. So you're all legends in my book. We'll be back next week. Hopefully we'll be all smug because we've nailed the selection. We did nail it 4 times last year. So that was pretty good. So thank you very much, everyone, to Bucky. Make sure you go and subscribe to Bucky. Make sure you go and subscribe to the Jumper Punch. And Lek Dog, what are you on now? You're here, Code Sport. Oh, yeah, wait. Mate. Lexi does. I do know that. Yeah. Lexi does. If you enjoy watching a man paint figurines and talk about it, which sounds like I'm taking the piss, I'm not. It is really good content.
It's good.
Go and check it out. And just go and say hello. Just say, hi, Lek Dog. Pom tells me to come here. But make sure you subscribe. My Blue Heaven, Jumper Punch, and Alexi does. I will put the links in the bottom so you can go and do that, chat. God bless. Go Blues. Bye.
See you together.